So in my entire journey, I think one thing has been very constant, which is a learning curve. So every project, every opportunity I have learned till date. And I think that's one thing which has kept me going. So I just probably grabbed whatever came, and I think what helped, probably I never said no to something new which came up, because I also have a problem that I get bored very easily. 2 years doing the same thing, once I master it, then I don't feel interested. I need something challenging all the time.
Hello and welcome to CIO News. I am Simran Shiwalkar, a journalist at CIO News and your host for today. This session is being recorded and it will be available on our website cionews.co.in and our LinkedIn handle as well. Today we are back with yet another episode from our exclusive series called Voice of CIO, and we have with us Ms. Mitali Biswas. She is the Chief Information Officer at CK Birla Hospitals. She's also a strategic technology leader with a successful track record of over 20 plus years of leading enterprise IT operations, digital transformation, and data analytics. Ms. Biswas, thank you so much for joining us today.
Thanks, Simran. My pleasure.
Absolutely. And with that, I would like to, ask you the very first question. A remarkable experience of over 20 years. Can you share a bit about this journey and your transformative journey of becoming a CIO as well?
So Simran, this was not planned. When I look back at myself, probably 23, 24 years back, I just knew that I had to work. It was not a very defined career path for me. Probably that knowledge or the exposure was also not there. So I came by, just because IT was in the boom. There was, as placements in the engineering college, and you just are part of the bandwagon. You start working. So that's how it started. So I started as a developer, but once I started, it interested me. So I went through all the roles, I would say. It was not a journey that I missed any path as such. So I was a developer. I played the role of an architect, a team lead, a project manager, in fact, even part of it in solution sales. So I had a very good exposure or the breadth, I would say, as part of, all the roles. And I spent a considerable amount of time with one of the biggest IT companies in the world. That gave me a lot of exposure geographically in terms of different technologies, in terms of different clients, in being in front of the client, and getting that exposure. And then later on, I think 4 years back, I switched to the other side of the table. That was again not planned. It was more because I was bored of what I was doing. The things I wanted to do wanted me to, it had to move, I had to move out of Calcutta, so which was not possible at that point of time. So looking at those, this opportunity came in and I thought, let's give it a try. And I'm glad I gave it a try, because again, I put myself in an uncomfortable situation because healthcare was new to me. This side of the table was new to me. But I think I learned. That has been the best thing. So in my entire journey, I think one thing has been very constant, which is a learning curve. So every project, every opportunity I have learned till date. And I think that's one thing which has kept me going. So I just probably grabbed whatever came, and I think what helped, probably I never said no to something new which came up, because I also have a problem that I get bored very easily. 2 years doing the same thing, once I master it, then I don't feel interested. I need something challenging all the time. So that also led me to push into new things. Okay, let's try this out, because technology also changes very fast. So there were opportunities, and I said, okay, ye maine kiya nahi, let's try my hand on it. So that learning, and I think getting those opportunities, putting yourself again and again into uncomfortable situations, I think all of that shaped up my career really well. The breadth. Now I am not afraid of getting myself into a new thing. You give me a new industry, new technology, I'll probably pick it up in 6 months and say, okay, I'll do it. I don't know whether I'll be successful or not, but I always take up the challenge. And most of the times it has worked. I wouldn't say there hasn't been failures. I have failed also in certain projects. We've learned from that and we have moved ahead, I think. So that's what's kept me going, and I'm enjoying what I'm currently doing. Not yet bored. Let's see what happens next.
Fantastic. In fact, thank you so much for walking us through your journey. And like you said, we just need to be open about the opportunities. Whether you face failures or you succeed, that's totally the next thing. But yes, I am personally inspired by that. So thank you so much. And like you said, technology is always evolving, and we are living in a digital era today. So, according to you, how do you see the role of CIO has evolved, across the years?
So I think traditionally the CIOs were looked at as just maintaining the IT infrastructure of the organization, more of a cost center, make sure there is efficiency, not too much investment. But I think there are a couple of things which has changed worldwide. One, specifically in the healthcare sector, after the COVID, people have realized what technology can do to the healthcare sector, right? So that again has been a big change. Another, there have been so many technology disruptions. You look at, for example, Netflix, you look at Zomato, you look at Amazon. All of these are technology disruptions, right? It has overall improved the customer experience. Every industry you look at, I gave examples from multiple industries, but I think that the lesson that people learned out of it, or what we can conclude out of is that technology has the ability to improve the patient experience and totally disrupt your business. So that is what I think people started understanding, and whoever has not understood, probably they'll be out of the business. If not at all, they'll be probably out of the business in few years. So looking at that, I think people or the business have realized that the role of CIO becomes important also in taking decisions of not only how to save cost, how to bring in efficiency, but also how to grow your business. So if I give you example from healthcare, home care, remote care, pharmacy on the move. So all these are new business models which did not exist few years back. Teleconsultation, they're all new business models. And you can do it only with the help of technology. The wearables part. So all of this is related to technology, but they're all increasing your business, bringing in new revenue. So what I wanted to say is the role of the CIO is now changing from just not bringing efficiency to the organization, but also growth to the organization, also creating value together with the business. But it is also, I think the CIO also has the role of a teacher, I would say, within the organization, because all these new technologies, they are also buzzwords. So the business, for example, AI, they would not know when to do, what to do, whether does it fit to my organization. It's just because AI is working well everywhere, let's start AI. But there are prerequisites to it. For example, if you don't have the data, what will you do with the AI? Am I capturing sufficient data or not? So there comes the role of a CIO also to make the business understand that, okay, these technologies are there, what it can do for my business, and what is it that I need to prepare myself to be able to reach that stage. So I think that awareness or that consciousness, also I think it is the role of a CIO to a certain extent to get the business aware about it. So I think it's just not, as I said, efficiency, it's about the growth, it's about creating value, it's about improving the total, for our industry, patient experience. How can I give a better patient experience? How can I give a better care to the patient with the help of technology? So I think all of those discussions now the CIO is involved in, which earlier probably was not the case. So CIO is an important part of the boardroom discussions. Right now people are asking, what can I do to give a better patient experience with the help of technology? Can I do it such that there will be no queue in the billing? He can directly appoint, book the appointment, not do anything in the hospital, save time for him, save time for us. Okay, so I think that's where the role of CIO is changing, I would say, from what it used to be, what it is now, and I think it will further go on change. It will be more seen as more of a value creator going forward.
Very well said, Suvan. Thank you once again for elaborating on that. Because you also spoke about disruptions, we always hear about something or the other coming up, and with so many emerging technologies like AI, ChatGPT, you have generative AI, and there's always something or the other that's taking the center stage. So, according to you, what are some emerging trends that you think or believe will have a strong impact in the long run, especially for businesses?
Right. So I can tell you more from a healthcare point of view. Different technology could have different impacts on different industries because the appetite is different, that the use cases are very different. So from a healthcare point of view, there are two technologies which are making waves and will continue to make waves. One is the wearables or the IoT, right? After COVID, what has happened is people have become more health conscious, right? All of us, we want to take care of your health. It's no more that I fall sick and I want to go to the hospital. It has become more predictive. I want to see how I am. We have our watches, Fitbits, Apple watches. We want to see, how much I am walking, what my heartbeat is, what my, pulse is. So people are more conscious. They just don't wait for that one PHC checkup for the entire year and then figure out, what are my blood parameters and then take a consultation. So they want to be connected, that's connected health and take care of themselves. And that's where the IoT or wearables, I see a huge role playing. So it is both for predictive, that, so that I don't fall sick. I measure a lot of parameters, and then if there is something wrong, I take care of it before it becomes more severe. That is one use case of it. Second use case, we also see a lot of it impacting in the post-operative care, right? So we, for example, have a hospital which is just dedicated to cardiology. Now, cardiologic patients, after they go back home, they also need a lot of post-operative care. You can't keep a patient in the hospital after operations for a long number of days. So there also we have seen, those monitors or wearables coming in, which helps them track their parameters. And, if there is a problem, then you know it fast and can take a action before it becomes more severe. Similar thing when you're even in the hospitals, in the ICUs, there a lot of it is monitored. But in the step-down ICUs where we don't have a lot of monitoring, you can still have, there are, for example, certain kind of beds which can measure a lot of parameters, again based on IoT technology. So this is one technology. I feel there is a lot of use cases in healthcare. It isn't too mainstream, I would say, but there are quite a few use cases which all the hospitals are doing. And this is going to continue as people become more and more conscious about health, as more and more predictive healthcare kicks in, compared to reactive healthcare. The other technology is, of course, analytics. The whole gamut of analytics, not just artificial AI or generative AI. Analytics is also a journey, right? For first to happen, you have to have the data. You have to have the correct data, quality data. Okay, nobody speaks about that. You just can't move into AI before you have the actual data, as I said. Now, AI, again, if I talk about healthcare, it has two parts. One is how you use it in your business operations part of it. How can I make it more efficient, a better experience. The other part, which is more critical, is the clinical part of it. So how can AI help my doctors diagnose fast? To give you a very, an example, say a patient with a brain stroke, right? So in such cases, the time is very, very important. So if somebody has got a stroke, you have to figure it out what part of the brain, and a surgery is immediately needed. So you do a CT scan, you figure out what the problem is, and the normal reporting or, the whole process probably takes in 45 minutes to 1 hour. But with the help of AI, you can actually, within 10 minutes, it will tell you which part of the brain it exactly is, and the doctor just says, okay, and you can go about it. Now, these are all in experimental stages, right? And you have to have evidence, because again, when I talk about clinical, AI is good, but unless you are 100% sure, you cannot implement it, because it considers people's life. For example, if the example I gave, it has to be backed with a lot of evidences, right? You just can't start using it as a new technology. Chalo, use karte. You can still take a risk in the operations, because it will give you some data. Based on that, you will take a decision. You deploy 2 more people, 2 less people. Still, you can probably, if something goes wrong, there are ways to kind of come out of it. But here, since we are talking about human lives, artificial intelligence in clinical or analytics in clinical, it will take time for the clinical support system, but it has the potential. But we have a long way to go. We have to have the data, and probably a lot of data is available from the Western world. But healthcare, as you know, it also depends on your lifestyle, the weather conditions, the climatic conditions. So if something has worked in US, doesn't mean it will work for India, right? So It will take time, but I think it has the potential. So yeah, IoT and analytics, these two technologies probably, will have a bigger impact on healthcare.
Absolutely, and thank you so much for providing your comprehensive view about this. And certainly, we can expect a lot, not just in healthcare but worldwide as well, when it comes to different verticals as well. So, thank you once again. Speaking of which, you spoke a lot about AI and how it will adapt with time when we talk about health and other verticals. Innovation and collaboration are often considered crucial when you consider in tech-driven companies. According to you, what are some of the best practices, or how do you encourage a culture of collaboration in your organization?
See, collaboration. So whatever we are working on, we are working in an ecosystem, right? IT is not an isolated team. So, for example, I collaborate when I collaborate with my business. One, I have to have an understanding, basic understanding of the business. Right? I have to be able to talk in their language. If I go and technically talk in my language, nobody understands me. Okay. Now, they learning technology jargons probably is difficult than I understanding my business, because anyway, I have to understand my business in order to give a solution to that technologically. So one, when we are collaborating with whoever the other side of the stakeholder is, one, depending on who the stakeholder is, I think it is always good that we are able to understand them and we are able to speak their language, so that, we can have a common language to speak. Because otherwise, if, I speak my technical language and he speaks his business language, it's never going to happen. So that is very, very important. Second, you have to not only collaborate within your organization, but also outside. It also becomes, because you cannot do everything alone. So the entire ecosystem, for example, the partners for healthcare, pharmacies, the insurance companies, all of this form a part of the entire ecosystem, right? So you have to collaborate with them also, because it's an end-to-end and an experience that you want to give to your patients. So collaboration not only within, but also outside, that becomes more important. And when you talk about innovation, I believe for innovation, you have to allow people to fail. Then only innovation will come in, right? Because innovation is all about getting ideas. Now, not necessarily every idea will succeed, right? Some ideas probably, are very good ideas, but difficult to execute. Some could be very costly. Some could be very difficult to adapt. So you don't know. Okay, but ideas should always be encouraged. पहले करके नहीं, अरे ये तो नहीं होगा, छोड़ दो. But I think people should be allowed to fail. Of course, you should, as a leader, you should know what risks you can take and what risks you cannot take. But unless you foster an environment of failure, I feel innovations will not happen. That's what I personally feel, that you have to have encourage that with your teams, with the partners you work in, to be able to fail. Let's try it out. Not always have a pressure कि ये तो करना ही है types. Okay, let's try it out. If it doesn't work, something else will work. What will happen is, if you succeed well, even if you don't succeed, you will learn something out of it, which will help you in the next idea, right? So that's what I believe in. For innovation to foster, failure definitely is important. And for collaboration to work, I think understanding each other is very important, especially the business or the ecosystem that you operate in.
Very well said, and I just love the way you put it across as, you have to allow people to fail for innovation to work, because until and unless you experiment, you wouldn't know. So lovely, and thank you so much for answering that. I also have another question for you. Being in this domain for so long and being a woman, a tech leader, and especially being a woman, I can only imagine the role to be demanding and challenging. So how do you find that balance?
Planning and priorities, right? You have to know what is the higher priority for me. So sometimes your personal priorities become more important, and I plan it very well. I also plan major, for example, major releases around my kids' exams. Okay, for example, last year there was a situation where, the business or the vendor, we were working with, they wanted the release to happen in certain time frame, which I know would be, colliding with my kids' exams. And I know I had to be there, and that project was very challenging. If it had to go live at that time, probably I would be spending 12-13 hours in the hospital itself. So I was very upfront when we were planning and saying, somebody asked, so why cannot we go live now? I said, I have my kids' exams. I will not be available. That's my priority. And it was well taken. I mean, we kind of scheduled it. So you have to be very open sometimes. It's not, and I think people understand if you explain. It's not. So you have to pick up your priorities very well. And if there is something clashing, I think talk it out. And people understand. So that's something I always do, whether it is personal or professional. It sometimes you have to adjust your personal priorities against your professional, and sometimes it's the other way around. So sometimes this takes priority, sometimes that takes priority, depending on what it is, right? I plan it out very well, and if there is something which is clashing, I prefer to be very honest about it to my team. So if, for example, if I am not available, I inform my team that I am not available. I have a PTM for my kids, so I'll be going out early today. It's good to be, tell everybody that this is why I'm not available, along with the reason also. So make it very transparent. So people will also not call you if they know that you are in a meeting at that time. They will also unnecessarily not call you. So I think planning, definitely prioritizing. I also probably, what I do, I probably try to skip a lot of this dinners and all, which probably is required sometimes. So those I try to skip, because then it takes a toll on your personal time. I would still like to give time to your family. Sometimes they're needed. So probably of all the invitations I get, I probably go to 20 or 30%. Rest I just, unless it is very important for the business. It is important for collaboration, you can say that, but somewhere you have to make a choice. So I pick and choose, what I want to do. But I think you have to be very honest with your teams, with your business, about your personal priorities as well, because everybody has it. There's no point hiding it. Be very honest about it. Having said that, it is difficult. It's not an easy task. Whatever you plan, and you always have that guilt of not being able to do enough, especially when it comes to your kids. So I do have my guilts as well once in a while. But yeah, we try to balance, and with sometimes flexibility and all, it definitely helps.
Fantastic. So maybe planning and prioritizing is the real mantra for you.
Yes.
But lovely. I certainly agree. More than a lot of women, we usually shy away from asking things or being vocal and honest, because we usually foresee the situation in a certain way that help wouldn't be available. So I think that's a great, I would say, practice for us to begin with. And on that note, any final word of advice you would like to give out, to women especially who wish to make their mark in the tech space?
I think never stop learning. And as women, because we also have to manage a lot of things at home, we normally tend to be in a comfortable situation. We don't, though we can do it, but we intend keep, your comfort zone mein hi rehte hain, ye to mujhe aata hai, so I can finish it probably faster and I can go home and do my job. But I think we have to, the more comfortable we get putting ourselves in uncomfortable zone, I think the better probably we will do in our careers. That's what I feel. So keep learning, and don't shy away from putting yourself in uncomfortable zones. Everybody can do it. If you have the will, you can do it.
Rightly said so. And I think I am personally inspired by this conversation, and of course the final words of advice as well. Women leaders, every listener has a lot to take away from this session. So thank you so much, Ms. Biswas. Thank you for agreeing and joining us today.
Thank you.